Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Andrew Stott and I'm the Emperor of Stomaria. Today I want to discuss an incident in which Stomarian lands were attacked. So this story begins more than 5 years ago, back when the Kingdom of Waywood had a more regular boots-on-the-ground community, but long before Waywood became a member state of the Empire, which didn't happen until September 2021. Now, a tried and tested truth when it comes to community-oriented projects is that where there are people, there are politics, and where there are politics, there are problems. And Waywood was no exception to this. Since the day that I first made contact with Waywood back in 2019, all the way up until they became a member state of the Empire in 2021, Waywood did suffer from fluctuations of population, in the sense that they had a lot of people leaving Waywood for one reason or another, but this was often offset by an influx of individuals joining Waywood over time. That said, there are of course those that have been involved in Waywood since the very beginning or since its very early foundation and have been steadfast supporters of the community and of the nation since that time. Now, in almost every instance, once a Waywoodian decided to leave Waywood for whatever reason, life carried on as normal without the need to constantly look over our shoulder. Except in this instance. So after the departure of a few Waywoodians back in 2020, they decided to take it upon themselves to try to disrupt, discredit, and bring down Waywood through whichever means that they thought they could. And once Waywood became a member state of the Empire in 2021, we inherited that problem. However, this problem did not materialise into anything noticeable until June 2023. When those same former Waywoodians decided to share a video with us in which they brazenly admitted to stealing property from the land. And the implicit threat was clear. We can get to you, we can get to your property, and we can do what we like. And for some time after this, we had people stay intermittently on the land to keep an eye on it, to make sure that no more property was going to be damaged or destroyed. However, after 2 years, we did drop our guard, as there was no sign of escalation and we just assumed that they had gotten bored and moved on with their lives. And ultimately, this incident that took place in June 2023 was forgotten about. That is, until August 2025, when I received a phone call to say that the flagpoles at Southwood, which many of our followers will be familiar with, had been ripped down, with the Stomarian flag being desecrated and the Waywoodian flag being stolen. And as soon as I was told about this incident, I came to a very quick conclusion, that it was the same individuals that had bragged about stealing property from the land more than 2 years ago. The problem was that at that point, I couldn't definitively prove it. That said, I did understand what these individuals were after. They were after an emotional response. They wanted us to publish a video or a post in which we displayed fear, anxiety, uncertainty, and doubt, something that they could feed off. They wanted us to know that they were watching. They wanted us to feel like we had to look over our shoulder at every turn. This is something that these individuals were hoping for. And so we did the exact opposite. We took additional steps to protect our lands and to protect our property. We notified a local police community support officer and we carried on as normal without giving these individuals and this activity any notice or attention whatsoever. I even made the effort of making a progress report video for August in which I had the new flags and flagpoles proudly flying high, with no mention that the previous ones had been torn down and had been replaced only a few hours before the filming actually began, to ensure that nothing looked out of place to our followers. And sure enough, the same account that created and shared the initial video that bragged about stealing property from the land more than 2 years ago created a further 3 videos in quick succession, bragging of the very deed that we knew they had committed but couldn't have proven without this additional content. They then proceeded to spam our videos on both YouTube and Facebook with links to their videos along with the kinds of comments that you might expect, calling for Stomaria's destruction, saying that it will soon fall, and so on and so forth. One of these comments even made mention that Stomaria's honey was poisoned, which I didn't think much of at the time, but then subsequently wondered if they had also done something to the honey at the stall that we have at Southwood, which prompted me to have someone take that batch of honey off the stall until I could later dispose of it. None of these videos or comments received any kind of acknowledgement or response from us, which then led them to making threats, calling for the death of Stomaria and Waywood, sending us screenshots of the land and saying that we weren't safe there, that they'd soon be returning to the land, and other such threats. And as they had made it abundantly clear that they intended to escalate further, we decided to notify the Hampshire Constabulary. I spoke to a sergeant and the various police officers that were working on this particular case, and they managed to identify and track down the individuals who were suspected of carrying out this attack, along with some of their potential associates, some of which were contacted in order to tell them that they were to stay away from us and to stay away from our land. And now that an official report has been made and that the individuals that were suspected of carrying out these activities have been identified, any further escalation in terms of trespassing on our property, in terms of destroying our property, in terms of making threats, in terms of even contacting us, will be met with a strong retaliatory response in the form of legal action. And the reason that I am discussing this now is very simple. When I say that there are people that are out there that wish to destroy us, this is not hyperbolic rhetoric. There are those that, given the opportunity, given the chance, would destroy what we have built, and they would do so with a smile across their face. But this is not something that I will ever tolerate. Southwood and Waywood South is a place in which a huge amount of time, of energy and financial resources have been dedicated in order to bring these lands up to standard, in order to help us to attain greater levels of self-reliance and self-determination through legal and legitimate means. And it is also a place for community gatherings and events. It's a place where families come together, where my family comes together. And so anyone that would seek to threaten us, to destroy our property, to make us feel unsafe on our own lands, will suffer the consequences of their actions. And for anyone that would suggest that utilising the law enforcement bodies of the United Kingdom in order to ensure the security and safety of my family, of my community, and of my property somehow goes against the principles of what we are building, I can only say that you are as moronic as the individuals that perpetrated these actions. Sure, we could have taken the law into our own hands, tracked down these individuals, and dished out the justice that we thought appropriate, but since I have no intention of going to jail, of having a criminal record, of having everything that I've built for the last half a decade being ripped from under me and disrupting my family life, I much prefer the option of going down the path in which they are the ones that are on the police's radar, not me. Now, as I mentioned earlier in this video, we have taken steps to further secure our lands. And as should be clear from the entirety of this video, we will come after anyone through the police and through the courts that would seek to disrupt or destroy what we are building through these kinds of activities. Because make no mistake, as many people have learned over the years, when it comes to me, when it comes to Stomaria, when it comes to the Empire, if you fuck around, you will find out. If you want to learn more about Stomaria or play an active role in our development and expansion, visit our website at www.stomaria.com and find out what it means to be a Stomarian.